Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to check in. It is Wednesday, December 9th. Wanted to give you guys a little quick video to help out with your assignment for today. Just a reminder, we won't have a live class per se, but this is still a live class. Remember, at any time, you guys are welcome to stop the video, post a question, check in with me, send me an email, whatever the case may be. I am here, I'm at the computer, I'm ready to go, and I want to help you guys. So we've just found that doing these prepackaged videos work a lot better for you guys in the sense of getting material than trying to sit through a 20-minute video of me trying to get people to turn their cameras on and turn their microphones off and whatnot. So here we go. Today, your guys' lesson is focused on chemical equations. Okay, so we want to practice thinking about the idea that when we say a chemical equation, sometimes that makes us think of something that is very abstract or like very complicated, right? And it's not. When I say water, right? Water is a chemical. If I say water and just spell, right? Just spell water, boom, right? That is how I say it. But if I'm thinking of in the sense of chemicals or chemical reactions, I could say, H2O, right? But those are the same thing. I didn't change anything. So by me putting H2O, it's just water, right? So when we do something, say we're talking about carbon dioxide, right? And when I say carbon dioxide, you think, oh yeah, it's like air, or it's whatever, right? It's what plants take in. It's in the air. So carbon dioxide is CO2, right? So putting CO2 is the same thing as saying carbon dioxide. It shouldn't confuse us or make us think anything is more difficult seeing that in a chemical equation, right? Just like we could say that oxygen, right? Oxygen is the same thing as O2, right? We've talked about how oxygen tends to always be a coupled element where its atoms tend to be in pairs. So we would have O2, but seeing that in a chemical equation is just oxygen. Nothing has changed. Now a big one that gets a little bit confusing for people is this one, C6H12O6, right? And that's a big one. Oh man, what the heck is that? But this is glucose, which is just a sugar, right? And this is the sugar that our bodies break food down into so that we can turn it into ATP. This is also the sugar that plants store in themselves once they have completed photosynthesis. So when we put these things together and we see them in chemical equations, sometimes people will all of a sudden tense up and think, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. But let's think real quick in the idea of photosynthesis, right? Let's think about photosynthesis. The equation of photosynthesis, I'll give you a minute to kind of think about that, right? Think about, what do plants need? What are these plants needing to grow? Think about, you got a plant in your garden. What does that stuff need? So if we think about this, plants need carbon dioxide, right? So I'm going to write this all out in words. Plants need carbon dioxide. Plants need water. Plants need sunlight, right? Okay. And when they take these things, plants make, as a waste product, O2, oxygen. Oops, we said we were going to write it out, right? So let me go back. Oxygen. And they also have glucose, right? Which they store, and that's their goal of photosynthesis, right? That's what plants are trying to do. They're trying to create this sugar so that they can grow, right? So when we write this out in words, all right, makes sense. Plants need carbon dioxide, they need water, they need sunlight. And then what does that turn into? It turns into oxygen that they basically fart back out into the air, and glucose that they store within themselves, right? But we want to think about this as a chemical equation, right? So as a chemical equation, nothing has changed, right? It's carbon dioxide plus water, right? And then you guys have seen this maybe a couple ways. Sometimes they put the arrow and then sunlight is just on the arrow. And that's just saying because sunlight is going in, like it's, I don't want to confuse you guys. Sunlight is the energy source to kind of push this reaction forward. So for us, it's a lot easier, I think, for us just to say it's a part of our equation, right? So we have carbon dioxide plus water and sunlight, and that reacts and makes oxygen and glucose. Right? So this is the same thing. We have carbon dioxide plus water plus sunlight makes oxygen and sugar. All right, well, we could also look at this because this is happening in plants. Well, what's happening in animals? Think real quick. Let's think. What the heck is happening in animals? If plants need CO2, water, and sunlight, what is it that animals need? Well, we've said that animals need food, right? And then a couple assignments ago, one of the questions was asking, well, what is your digestive system for? And your digestive system is breaking down food so that we can get it into glucose, right? Obviously, there's other vitamins and stuff that are involved, but glucose is what we need for this energy source, right? So for animals, we need glucose, which is just a sugar, right? Glucose plus oxygen, right? And oxygen gets to our bodies through our respiratory system, right? So our digestive system and our respiratory systems are working together. Our digestive system is breaking down food into glucose, and our respiratory system is exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide through our lungs, right? When I breathe in oxygen. Now that oxygen hitches a ride into my blood. The blood takes it to all of my cells give the oxygen to the cells use that oxygen, they kick back the CO2, the CO2 gets in my blood, the blood comes back to my lungs, the lungs get the CO2 back out, and then I breathe out that CO2. Sorry, that was difficult. So our cells need, or our bodies, animals need glucose and oxygen, right? And then what do they turn that into? Well, they make a little bit of water, right? They make some carbon dioxide. So we said I have to breathe that out, right? Oops. Carbon dioxide. And then the most important thing is they make this ATP, right? And that is our energy, okay? So if we wanted to write that out, adenine triphosphate, go ahead, try to spell it. You just write ATP, that's fine by me. So if we look at this in a chemical equation, right? We said glucose plus oxygen makes water, carbon dioxide, and ATP. All right, well, let's look at it as a chemical equation, right? Glucose, which is C6H12O6, which just means there's 6 carbons with 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens, right? We've got that plus oxygen, and that reacts to make our adenine triphosphate, our carbon dioxide, and some water. Right? So then we talked about this is a really, really cool idea because cellular respiration happens in animals, and it's sugar plus oxygen makes energy, CO2, and water. But in plants, energy, CO2, and water react to make oxygen and that sugar, right? So these two processes balance each other. These two processes kind of keep life going on Earth because what we get rid of, plants will use, and what plants get rid of, we will use. All right, so hopefully that kind of helps a little bit with this idea of the chemical equation side of it. Again, chemical equations are nothing more complicated than the sentences that you speak when you're talking about what's happening, right? You explaining photosynthesis, you're already explaining the chemical reaction. You just need to kind of remember those letters or those symbols in certain occasions, right? But honestly, if worse comes to worse and you for some reason needed to do a chemical reaction and you don't remember the letters, like this C6H12O6, but you know that it's a sugar, just writing sugar plus O2 and the arrow, that is better than nothing, right? That's showing you know, and sugar is the chemical. Just because you don't remember the chemical equation doesn't mean you got the chemical equation wrong. You know, as long as you know that it's a sugar, sugar and C6H12O6, that's the same thing, right? That is glucose. Okay, so keep that in mind that you know way more about chemical equations than you think you do. All right? So last thing to look at before I turn you guys loose is this idea of the carbon. Okay, so we've talked about how carbon is so important in this cycle, right? Because this main concept is helping us exchange carbon in our environment. So between plants and animals, carbon is going back and forth. And carbon is super important because carbon is what we call the organic or the organic element, right? So all life is made with carbon, right? Everything that has carbon we consider organic, and it's living things, right? So living things have a ton of carbon, and carbon's incredibly important. So the exchange of this and the fact that it keeps going through our environment and recycling is incredibly important. Okay, so plants and animals exchange it simply through the processes that we do to grow and live, right? Also, they exchange it when they die, right? Since we have so much of this sugar and this carbon in us, when we die, our bodies break down, right? Talking about those decomposers breaking us apart. Our bodies break apart and that carbon goes back into the earth as well, right? So carbon is very important and carbon is being recycled regularly through our environment. All right? So get that assignment done. If you can't do that assignment after watching this video, please watch it again, okay? This went through, made sure we got everything hit straight on for you guys. But if you have a question or this doesn't make sense or there's something within this that you really want to talk about more, please stop the video, or when you're done with the assignment, whatever, post a question. Come into the chat, talk to me, get your questions answered, learn something today. Okay? Happy Wednesday. Hope life's going great. Peace out.